Let's set the record straight. Hollywood has never been shy about tackling war, but when it comes to the Vietnam conflict, the movies got grittier, meaner, and way more honest in the 1980s. Forget sugar-coated heroics, these films drop you into the mud, the sweat, and the mayhem. Why do so many veterans point to these flicks as the real deal? Ready to challenge what you think you know about Vietnam War movies? Stick around, because some picks might just blow your mind for all the right reasons. Platoon, 1986. Welcome to the jungle, where the rules melt faster than a chocolate bar in Saigon. Oliver Stone's Platoon isn't just a war movie, it's a gut punch straight from someone who's been there. Stone, a real Vietnam veteran, rips the Hollywood sheen right off and exposes the moral fog that followed every soldier's step. We meet Chris Taylor, the idealistic new guy who quickly learns that the real enemy isn't always who you expect. This film doesn't let you hide behind popcorn. It's raw, chaotic, and never afraid to show the ugly truth. Charlie Sheen, Willem Dafoe, and Tom Berenger don't play heroes. They play survivors, fighting each other as much as the North Vietnamese. Every firefight is confusion, not glory. Every quiet moment feels haunted. Why do vets love it? Because it's messy, because it captures the politics, the fear, and the blurred lines between right and wrong. The sound of cicadas, the flash of gunfire, and the endless tension. This is what infantrymen remember. Stone's own experiences bleed into every frame, making this one of the only war movies where veterans say, "Yeah, that's how it felt." If you want the fairy tale, look elsewhere. If you want the truth, Platoon is waiting. Full Metal Jacket, 1987. How do you break a man and build a soldier? Stanley Kubrick's Full Metal Jacket answers with a boot to the psyche and then chucks you into the war's chaos just to see if you can swim. The first half is the most infamous boot camp sequence ever put on film. R. Lee Ermey, as Gunnery Sergeant Hartman, isn't just a drill instructor, he's a force of nature, turning young men into something hard, mean, and maybe a little broken. But that's only half the story. The second act drops us into the ruined streets of Hue City, following Joker and his buddies as they try to make sense of a world gone sideways. Kubrick's lens is cool, sharp, and almost clinical, capturing the way war strips away the humanity, the innocence, and sometimes the sanity of everyone involved. What makes Full Metal Jacket stand out? Veterans say it nails the transformation, how kids become killers, how friendship curdles under stress, and how no amount of training prepares you for the real thing. The iconic lines, the thousand-yard stares, the moral confusion, it's all there. Kubrick doesn't glorify the fight, he exposes the mind games and the heartbreak, leaving you with one question. When the shooting stops, who's really left standing? Hamburger Hill, 1987. There's Brutal, and then there's Hamburger Hill. This one doesn't care about big names or glossy special effects. It's about grit, sweat, and the kind of brotherhood that only comes from crawling up a muddy slope while bullets zip past your ears. Written by a real Vietnam vet, James Karabatsos, this film is as close to a foxhole as most of us will ever get. The story is simple, but the execution is relentless. A mismatched unit is ordered to take Hill 937, a target so fierce it earns its nickname from the way it chews up men. There are no super soldiers here, just scared kids with rifles, each one fighting for the guy next to him. We see the toll the battle takes, not just on bodies, but on minds. Some don't make it. The ones who do are changed forever. Veterans respect Hamburger Hill for its authenticity. The mud, the confusion, the feeling that command doesn't always make sense, these are things the real vets nod along to. The film doesn't give easy answers or tidy endings. It's a reminder that sometimes heroism is just getting back up and moving forward, one miserable step at a time. No romance, no sugarcoating, just war as it was. Casualties of War, 1989. Not all battles in Vietnam were fought with guns, some were fought with conscience. Brian De Palma's Casualties of War digs into the darkness that war can bring out in ordinary men. Based on a true and notorious incident, this film doesn't shy away from the ugly reality. Sometimes, the line between right and wrong is obliterated in the chaos. Michael J. Fox plays Private Erickson, the lone voice of morality in a patrol that crosses every line. Sean Penn, as the sergeant, is as chilling as he is charismatic, leading his men into actions that haunt them all. Ericsson's struggle isn't just with his fellow soldiers, but with a system that wants to keep things quiet and move on. Vets don't always agree on this film. It's painful, uncomfortable, and meant to be. But many say it's necessary viewing because it forces us to confront what happens when authority goes unchecked and when humanity is sacrificed for survival. The tension is unbearable, the aftermath brutal. Casualties of war isn't about battles won or lost, it's about what's left behind when the shooting stops, and the damage that never heals. Good Morning, Vietnam 1987. Who said war can't be funny? Robin Williams. That's who. Good Morning, Vietnam is one of those rare films that lets you laugh while your heart aches. Williams plays Adrian Cronauer, a radio DJ dropped into Saigon with a mic, a mind full of mischief, and a knack for shaking things up. His comedy is quick, his music is loud, and he gives the troops something to smile about even as the world outside the studio falls apart. But this movie is more than just punchlines. Williams brings raw emotion to every scene, showing how humor becomes armor against fear and loss. The film doesn't flinch from the darker side of the conflict, the bombings, the suspicion, the ever-present sense that safety is an illusion. What keeps it grounded is Williams's humanity, both on and off the air. Veterans have a soft spot for this movie. Many remember the radio as a lifeline, a voice from home, a break from the madness. Good Morning, Vietnam gets that. It understands that sometimes a joke or a song is all you've got. The movie proves that laughter doesn't trivialize pain, it helps you survive it. When the jokes stop, what's left is the truth. Born on the 4th of July 1987. Here's the thing about Born on the 4th of July. It's not just about what happened in Vietnam, but what happened to the men who came back. Oliver Stone strikes again, this time with Tom Cruise in one of his most blistering, transformative roles. The story is ripped from the pages of Ron Kovich's real-life memoir, a patriotic young Marine, gung-ho and waving the flag, who winds up paralyzed and bitter, left to question everything he once believed. This movie is about the war that doesn't end when the shooting stops. We follow Kovich from his suburban childhood to the battlefield, then all the way through hospitals, protests, and family heartbreak. Cruise ditches the movie star swagger and dives deep into Kovich's pain, confusion, and angry rebirth as an anti-war activist. Stone pulls no punches. The hospitals are bleak, the homecoming is awkward, and the streets are alive with protest. Veterans point to Born on the 4th of July for its raw honesty about trauma and the struggle to find meaning after the guns fall silent. It's a film that forces you to look past the uniforms and see the man inside, the hopes, the broken dreams, and the fight to feel whole again. Cruise's performance lingers long after the credits, reminding us that for many, the real battle began back on American soil. The Hanoi Hilton, 1987. Talk about claustrophobia. The Hanoi Hilton ditches the explosions and focuses on a quieter, more suffocating kind of torment. Years spent in a North Vietnamese prison camp. Here, survival isn't about winning firefights. It's about enduring endless days, outlasting despair, and holding on to your sanity by your fingernails. The movie follows a group of American POWs, faces grimy, uniforms tattered, who form an unlikely family behind bars. There are no big-name stars here, and that's a plus. The characters blend together, just like in real captivity, where names fade and hope becomes currency. The guards are cold and calculating, but the real fight is against boredom, starvation, and the gnawing fear that nobody's coming for you. Escape is impossible. Resilience is everything. Veterans who survived the actual Hanoi Hilton say this movie gets the details right, the mind games, the coded knocks on cell walls, the small acts of rebellion that keep the soul alive. It's not a feel-good flick, but it's real. You feel every minute drag by, every tiny victory, every devastating loss. The Hanoi Hilton is a salute to the quiet courage that never makes headlines but keeps men alive in the darkest places. Bat 21, 1988. If you think war is about squads of grunts slugging it out in the mud, Bat 21 Oz is here to set you straight. This is survival with the clock ticking and the odds shrinking by the second. Based on true events, the film follows Gene Hackman as Lieutenant Colonel ICL Hambleton, a top Air Force officer shot down deep in enemy territory. His only lifeline? A lone spotter pilot, played by Danny Glover, talking him through a gauntlet of danger via radio. What's wild about Bat-21 is how it flips the war movie formula. Instead of big battles, we get a desperate, near-hopeless rescue mission that's all about smarts, guts, and stubborn will. Hackman's character is no action hero, he's a codebreaker, scared and bleeding, forced to play cat and mouse with the enemy, dodge bombs, and trust that someone out there still cares. Veterans praise the movie's focus on teamwork, ingenuity, and the human cost of leaving a man behind. The tension is relentless. Every radio crackle, every footstep in the jungle feels like a countdown to disaster. Bat-21 is a tribute to the lengths soldiers will go for each other and the nightmare decisions that come when time and options run out. No glamour, just the raw nerves of real-life rescue. 84C Mopic, 1989. Ever wish you could see the war through a soldier's eyes? No filter, no fancy camera moves, just the raw, shaking reality? 84C Mopic delivers exactly that. Shot in a found-footage style, this movie puts you smack in the boots of a long-range recon patrol deep in enemy territory. There's no Hollywood polish, just the constant grind of moving, sweating, and wondering if every rustle in the trees means death. The movie follows a camera operator, call sign Mopic, embedded with a small unit as they creep through the jungle. No big speeches, no soaring music, just the low chatter of scared men trying to keep it together. Tension seeps into every frame. The actors are mostly unknowns, and that makes it real. You forget you're watching a movie and start feeling like you're stuck in the bush with them. Veterans love 84C Mopic for its authenticity. The radio jargon, the nerves, the exhaustion, it all rings true. It's not about winning or losing, just surviving another patrol. The ending is a gut punch, a reminder that luck is as important as courage. If you want to know what it felt like to be just another face in the ranks, 84C Mopic is as close as you'll get without signing up. The Iron Triangle, 1989. Sometimes, to understand a war, you need to see both sides. The Iron Triangle takes a risk that most Vietnam movies never do. It gives equal time to the enemy. Inspired by the diary of a real Viet Cong soldier, this film weaves together the stories of American troops and North Vietnamese fighters, forcing us to question the usual lines between friend and foe. The plot kicks off when a young Viet Cong fighter and an American lieutenant cross paths in the jungle. What follows is a game of hunter and hunted, each side desperate to survive, neither sure who the villain really is. The action is rough, the emotions complicated. This isn't a film about winners or losers. It's about people trapped by circumstances, clinging to their humanity while the world burns around them. Veterans and critics alike respect the Iron Triangle for refusing easy answers. It's not about propaganda or chest-thumping patriotism. Instead, it's about respect for the enemy and the hard choices every soldier faces. The movie's low budget just adds to its grit. At the end, you might not know who to root for, but you'll remember what it costs to be caught in the crossfire. The Siege of Firebase, Gloria, 1989. Strap in, because the Siege of Firebase Gloria wastes no time. This is Vietnam with all the gloves off. Picture a small, isolated Marine outpost, outnumbered and outgunned, fighting wave after wave of enemy attacks in the dead of night. It's relentless, it's claustrophobic, and it's absolutely ferocious. R. Lee Ermey leads a scrappy cast, turning a pulp action setup into something grittier and more human than you might expect. The movie dives headfirst into the chaos. Bullets fly, bunkers collapse, and the line between friend and foe blurs under the pressure. But what makes this film really sing is how it explores the mental strain, the fear, the exhaustion, and the moments of dark humor soldiers cling to when hope is in short supply. There are no superhuman heroes here, just Marines hanging on, fighting for each other, and praying to see sunrise. Veterans often nod at the film's depiction of camaraderie under fire and the bone-deep fatigue that sets in after days without rest. Sure, it's a lower-budget affair, but the rawness works in its favor. The Siege of Firebase Gloria is the kind of under-the-radar classic that doesn't get enough love. For those who want to feel what it's like to hold the line when everything's falling apart, this is required viewing. A Rumor of War, 1980. Don't let the TV movie label fool you. A Rumor of War hits hard, thanks to the haunting real-life memoir it's based on. Philip Caputo's story isn't about one big battle, but the slow, steady unraveling of innocence. As a young Marine lieutenant, Caputo heads to Vietnam, burning with purpose. What he finds is confusion, frustration, and the gradual collapse of everything he thought he knew. The film is spare but searing. We see Caputo face moral choices that would keep anyone awake at night. There are no cheap thrills here, just the grind of patrols, the fear of making a wrong call, and the struggle to keep your humanity when the world around you is falling apart. The supporting cast gives it their all, fleshing out a brotherhood that feels authentic and earned. Veterans appreciate A Rumor of War for its honesty. It doesn't sugarcoat the war or try to find easy villains. It's about the slow-motion shock that sets in when you realize the rules keep changing, and survival sometimes means losing a piece of yourself. For anyone who thinks TV movie means soft, this one sets the record straight. Purple Hearts, 1984. Some war films show the fighting. Purple Hearts shows the scars, both visible and hidden. This movie isn't just about combat. It's about what happens to love and hope when the world goes sideways. Ken Wall and Cheryl Ladd play a Navy surgeon and a nurse, thrown together in the midst of chaos, where every day could be their last. Their romance is anything but easy, tangled up in fear, loss, and the ever-present threat that nothing is promised. The film gets real about the relentless grind of battlefield medicine. There's blood, exhaustion, and the endless struggle to patch people up before another chopper lands. The romance isn't a fairy tale, it's messy, desperate, and made up of stolen moments between bombings. Some critics call it melodramatic, but veterans say it nails the loneliness, the longing, and the way love can be both a lifeline and a liability. Purple Hearts stands out for showing the emotional price of service, not just for those in uniform, but for the ones who try to hold on to each other when everything else is falling away. It's about fighting for something worth coming home to, even when home feels like a distant dream. Ceasefire, 1985. Not all Vietnam movies end in the jungle. Ceasefire asks what happens when the war comes home. Don Johnson plays Tim Murphy, a vet struggling to adjust to civilian life years after leaving the battlefields behind. His marriage is fraying, his sleep is wrecked by nightmares, and he's haunted by memories he can't shake. It's not about glory or medals, it's about survival, one day at a time. This film doesn't flinch from the reality of PTSD. The flashbacks are raw, the anxiety real, and the pain sometimes too much to bear. Murphy's friendships with fellow vets are lifelines, but even they can't always break through the isolation. The war never really ends for these men. It just changes shape, becoming a silent battle fought behind closed doors. Veterans praise Ceasefire for its truthfulness. It doesn't try to solve everything in 2 hours or offer easy answers. Instead, it shows how recovery is messy, non-linear, and often lonely. The film makes it clear, you can leave the battlefield, but sometimes the battlefield doesn't leave you. For anyone who thinks the war ended in '75, this is a wake-up call. Uncommon Valor, 1983. What would you do if you thought your friends were still out there, lost and forgotten? Uncommon Valor grabs that question and runs with it. Gene Hackman plays a retired Marine who can't let go of the past. His son, missing in Vietnam, haunts his every move. When the government gives up, he assembles his own team of vets for a do-or-die rescue mission deep into enemy territory. This isn't just a wild action ride, though it delivers plenty of explosions and close calls. It's about loyalty, guilt, and the bonds that never break, no matter how many years have passed. Each team member is fighting their own ghosts, but together they find a purpose bigger than revenge. The tension never lets up, and the final act is pure adrenaline. Veterans respect Uncommon Valor for its heart, the camaraderie, the sense of unfinished business, and the willingness to risk everything for a promise. These themes hit home. It's not about rewriting history, but about honoring those who never made it back. The action is big, but the emotion is even bigger. Sometimes, the greatest victories happen long after the war is supposed to be over. Off-Limits 1988. Sometimes the most dangerous battlefields aren't in the jungle, they're in the alleys, nightclubs, and backrooms of a city under siege. Off-Limits drops you into Saigon's neon-lit underbelly during the war, where two military police officers, played by Willem Dafoe and Gregory Hines, investigate a string of murders targeting local women. But this isn't your usual whodunit. The deeper they dig, the more tangled the clues become, and the more the city itself seems ready to swallow them whole. There's tension at every turn, with corrupt officials, suspicious soldiers, and secrets that everyone wants to keep buried. The film trades firefights for foot chases, shootouts for stakeouts, and all the while, the chaos of the Vietnam War simmers just beyond the city limits. The duo's chemistry is magnetic. Dafoe is all edge and grit, while Hines brings charm and a surprising dose of humor. Veterans who served in Saigon nod at the details: the sweat, the paranoia, the sense that no one is ever really off-duty. Off-Limits is more than a murder mystery. It's a gritty portrait of a city on the edge, where war has made everyone a suspect and trust is a luxury you can't afford. It's a slice of Vietnam rarely seen in movies, a place where nothing is simple and everyone's got something to hide. Birdie 1984. Birdie isn't about firefights or ambushes. Instead, it digs into the psychological shrapnel that Vietnam left behind. Matthew Modine plays Birdie, a gentle oddball kid whose mind shatters after his tour. Nicolas Cage is his tough, loyal friend, battered in body but desperate to bring Birdie back from the brink. The film flashes between their youthful escapades and the harsh reality of the veterans' hospital where they're trying to pick up the pieces. Director Alan Parker doesn't glamorize war. Instead, he turns the camera on what happens after the bullets stop. Modine's performance is haunting. His thousand-yard stare says everything about how the war rewired so many young minds. The friendship between the two leads is messy, tender, and authentic, giving the film a raw emotional punch. Veterans relate to Birdie because it speaks honestly about the struggle to find yourself again. It's about friendship as a lifeline and how survival isn't always measured in medals or scars you can see. If you want a film that understands the invisible wounds, Birdie is a must-watch. Operation Nam, Cobra Mission, 1986. Now for something unexpected. Operation Nam, also known as Cobra Mission, is a wild Italian-American co-production that became a cult favorite among some veterans. This isn't a polished Hollywood epic. It's more like a fever dream, full of action, double crosses, and a dose of righteous fury. The plot kicks off when a group of Vietnam vets learns that American POWs are still being held in Southeast Asia. The government drags its feet, so the vets take matters into their own hands, heading back into the jungle to do what Washington won't. The action is big and often over the top, but there's something magnetic about the film's no-nonsense energy. The vets aren't superheroes. They're scarred, angry, and tired of being lied to. The jungle looks hostile, the mission is barely organized, and every step feels like a fight against not just the enemy, but against being forgotten. Veterans who love this film say it captures a specific anger, the sense of unfinished business and the need to take care of your own. Sure, it's pulp, but it's also about brotherhood, justice, and never letting go of those you lost. For anyone who likes their war movies raw and rowdy, Operation Nam delivers. Dogfight 1988. Not every Vietnam War story takes place in the jungle. Dogfight rewinds to the eve of deployment, following a group of young Marines who hit the streets of San Francisco for one last wild night before shipping out. River Phoenix stars as Eddie Birdlace, a Marine with a rough edge and a guarded heart. But the night takes an unexpected turn when he meets Rose, a shy waitress played by Lily Taylor, and a mean-spirited bet turns into something that just might redeem him. The war hangs over every scene, even though it hasn't begun for these characters yet. The film is tender, sometimes awkward, and brutally honest about the ways people try to shield themselves from fear and loneliness. Phoenix and Taylor are magnetic, giving their characters vulnerability and hope in a world about to change forever. Veterans often point to Dogfight as a rare look at the humanity behind the uniforms, the dreams, regrets, and connections that matter when everything else is uncertain. The movie isn't about battles, but about courage of a different kind, the willingness to let someone in, even when you know you might not come back. It's a war movie without a shot fired, and that's exactly why it hits home. The Last Hunter, L'ultimo cacciatore, 1980. Rounding out the list is a wild card. The Last Hunter, an Italian-American film that's earned a cult following among veterans for its sheer intensity. This isn't a subtle drama or a slick blockbuster. It's a relentless fever dream about a lone American sent on a mission deep behind enemy lines, with the jungle closing in and nothing guaranteed except chaos. The film doesn't pull punches. There's mud, blood, and madness in every frame. David Warbeck stars as the haunted, hardened soldier who's seen too much and trusts no one. The jungle is a character in its own right, alive and merciless. The mission gets crazier by the minute, and survival seems less likely with every step. Why do veterans put this one on the list? Because it captures the sense of being totally lost, outnumbered, and running on nothing but instinct. There's no clear line between friend and foe, no promises, no peace. The Last Hunter is war as a nightmare, a place where rules mean nothing, and the only thing you can count on is yourself. Gardens of Stone, 1987. Gardens of Stone isn't about firefights or helicopter assaults. It's about what happens on the home front, in the shadow of war, where every funeral tells a story nobody wants to hear. Directed by Francis Ford Coppola, this film unfolds at Arlington National Cemetery, where a unit of Old Guard soldiers lays Vietnam's fallen to rest. James Caan stars as Sergeant Clell Hazard, a combat veteran frustrated by being kept away from the action, but tasked with training fresh-faced recruits for a war he knows is unforgiving. The movie contrasts the glory some attach to sacrifice with the heartbreak felt by those left behind. D.B. Sweeney is the eager young soldier ready for heroics, while Caan's world-weary sergeant tries to pass on a little wisdom before it's too late. Angelica Houston adds emotional depth as a war reporter who sees both sides, the politics and the personal cost. Veterans praise Gardens of Stone for its unflinching look at honor, grief, and the routines that hold soldiers together when the world is falling apart. There's no easy sentiment here, just the quiet rituals of respect, the burden of memory, and the hard truth that sometimes the real battle is coping with loss. If you want a Vietnam War film that honors the quiet sacrifices, this is the one to watch. That's the real deal. 20 Vietnam War films that cut through the noise and stick with you long after the credits roll. Did we leave out a movie that shook you or changed your view? Let us know in the comments. Hit subscribe for more bold movie deep dives and share this with anyone who thinks they know war cinema. The jungle never forgets, and neither do the legends these films keep alive.